And welcome back to LinkedIn Logs, the jobs and business news podcast for the website C Plus Comedy. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. You'll have to excuse me if you're watching the video. You definitely saw me doing a little bit of work. And I'm going to clear that email. And we are done. Guys, it's the end of the day. It's fine. I can do this. I can do whatever I want. Nobody's going to fucking stop me. There was a moment, this is episode 123, ABC. There was a moment where what movie was I going to go see? Oh, I was The Odyssey when I was planning out my time to go see The Odyssey. And, the end of this story is that I ended up seeing, anecdote, is I ended up seeing it at a art house theater that has 70 millimeter. 2 Fridays ago in the morning at 11 o'clock on my summer Friday. But there was a point where I was, and again, I already said that I was going to go at like 7:30 in the morning at Buford, Georgia, at the Mall of Georgia, to go see it there, a 70 millimeter IMAX at 7:30 in the morning, but I would not make it back in time for work. Or for the start of work. I'd be back by like 11. But there was a point in time where I was like, I could probably go at like 2 p.m. Nobody would miss me. Oh my gosh. I thought about going at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday at one point. And you better believe I would have been missed on some of those Tuesdays when I was like, this is going to happen. Hey, you know what's interesting? This is not interesting in the slightest at all either. I saw Hades Town, the filmed version of the musical, and I'm very lucky in that the people that I've spoken to, that I've interviewed for this website, I would say like a majority of them, like 98%. Are everybody's a decent person, but no one has like insane, crazy, right-leaning views. There's some exceptions. There, like Larry the Cable Guy. I talked to Larry the Cable Guy, and he blamed some pandemic stuff on Democrats. And there's one guy who. This is one guy who I did not enjoy interviewing because he was sick and, quite frankly, he did not want to be interviewed. But he ended up writing for, was it it was either the most recent White House Correspondents' Dinner or some other thing in that ilk. Maybe Bill Maher's thing, not show, but the Mark Twain Prize. I don't know, something. What was his name? I have to open an incognito window, and be very, be very cautious about saying his name. That is his name that I just said. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to his IMDb. It's a man. He wrote for, The Roast of Kevin Hart. It's very easy. You can go back and go to cpluscomedy.com, go to the interviews, and then scroll and look for anybody I interviewed and look through the names. Anyway, but there's a guy who I interviewed a couple of years ago for a show called Perfect Harmony on NBC, starring Bradley Whitford. This guy, Geno Seegers. He was cast in the role of the devil because his voice in Hades Town, and he was cast in this role. Didn't even take the stage yet. Posted some anti-trans stuff. Hey, guess what? Not only is the theater community very pro women, trans, diversity. Well, I would say that depending on some of the things that people get cast in some of these shows. But not only that, but this show is like Hades Town is very like queer, pretty much. And This man had some anti-trans videos posted on his Instagram, and he immediately lost the job. Like, buddy, come on, man. You know your audience. I don't know how you would be in the Broadway theater and be anti anything. Because quite frankly, it's a pretty gay job. It's pretty queer. It's a very queer job. Just a bunch of people, men, women, theys, thems, all like everybody just like in tights dancing. I don't know how you would be in that sphere, specifically that medium of entertainment industry, and be like, I'm against boys turning to girls or girls turning to boys and anybody staying in between, in or out. That is a fucking ridiculous thing. All right, anyway, let's get into it. There's one story I was going to do, but we had a couple of last minute Hail Marys happen this morning while I was on the bike. I get home from the gym. I sit on the bike. I put on Timeless, the TV show that the creator of The Shield did immediately following the ending of The Shield. Two totally different shows. But you know what? I'm enjoying it. And I get either a New York Times notification, or I was checking C Plus Comedy's email, and I see this. This comes from the New York Times. It's written by my enemy, David Ellison. It's a guest opinion essay in defense of the Paramount-Warner deal. Boy, oh boy. I'm going to do this in as few sentences and words as possible. Last year, David Ellison, who is the son of Larry Ellison, the billionaire mogul from Oracle, who is best friends with Trump. David Ellison's also best friend with Trump. He also has a sister, and Larry Ellison has a daughter named Megan Ellison. She's a lesbian, and she's great. They both own movie studios, David and Megan Ellison. And that's the end of Megan Ellison. David owns Skydance, which produced Mission Impossible and a bunch of great movies. Skydance purchased Paramount. Paramount was in the looks for a buyer, and it was purchased by Skydance. That became Paramount-Skydance very quickly. There was basically no one saying stop that. I mean, people were saying stop that, but essentially. Then Warner Brothers Discovery, if you remember, Discovery bought Warner Brothers years ago. And Warner Brothers Discovery was mulling a sale. They were going to split up, and people were going to be able to pick apart the carcass of that was Warner Brothers Discovery. The idea was Warner Brothers, they would split into Warner Brothers and Discovery. Warner Brothers would be the movies, the successful stuff, the movie studios, the streamers, I assume the music. And then Discovery would be the cable stuff, Cartoon Network, TLC, CNN, and the video game stuff, and then the other shit that did not work. Companies, everybody was like, oh, this is going to be bad. Not a single regular person was like, this is going to be great. Earlier this year, Netflix, Universal, and Paramount-Skydance were the ones who wanted to, Comcast, Universal is Comcast, wanted to purchase either the carcass parts of Warner Brothers Discovery or everything as a whole. Netflix just wanted the film side. They did not want the cable side. They have no interest in cable. They offered some money. Universal was out. Paramount-Skydance was like, hey, Netflix, if that deal doesn't go through, we will pay your breakup fee. The deal did not go through. There's a lot of stuff that goes out there. There was no breakup fee. I said I was going to shorten this. There was a breakup fee. Then Paramount-Skydance is like, we're going to buy everything. The money comes from a lot of investors, including Larry Ellison, who does not have the cash, Saudi wealth investments, some other just seedy places where you would not get money to buy. It's like borrowing from a loan shark. It's like $111 billion that the Ellisons nor the Saudi wealth funds, nor literally anyone else on the world, except for like the richest billionaires have. And then this summer, a judge stood up and said, "This is not right. We're gonna put a pause on this." And then everybody was like, "Huzzah!" And then David Ellison's like, "No!" And then like a week later, David Ellison, or no, like a day later, David Ellison and Paramount were like, "Fine, we'll put a pause on it." The thing is, they have to pay a waiting fee that amounts to several hundreds of millions of dollars to shareholders of Warner Brothers Discovery if this deal did not go through starting in like September-ish. And that waiting fee is going to continue to be paid quarterly, I believe, until the deal goes through. Where are they going to get that money from? Anyway, David Ellison took to the New York Times to publish an op-ed concerning the pause of the deal. And let's just go through it step by step. I read this. I read this so quickly on the bike. I was just like, I truly just scanning through it, going, "This is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is bullshit." Many people have weighed in on Paramount's agreement to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery. For the transaction that size, as expected and appropriate. The one person you haven't heard from is me. Yes, we've heard from you plenty of times. There's a reason for that. I believe that anyone who oversees a news organization, I am the chief executive of Paramount, which owns CBS, shouldn't put a finger on the scale, especially in the matters involving his own company. Here's the thing. So as soon as Skydance purchased Paramount, people were worried that CBS News was going to change. He said CBS News was not going to change. He hired Barry Weiss, who was a woman who was essentially ousted from so many different places, writing places, including the New York Times, news writing places, that she created her own avenue on Substack. To her credit, it became very successful, but she filled it with a lot of right-leaning people, not even center-right, with a lot of right-leaning people who are not good at their jobs, essentially. And she became head of CBS. He also put in Nick Bilton, who's a guy who also does not have TV news experience, or even TV experience. And so now you have these two people who have no business being in charge of TV news, turning everything on CBS, which is supposed to be down the middle, the same as every other news source. Every other news source should be down the middle. But, what the fuck? ABC and NBC News. But it is now leaning center right, mostly to center right. I say center right. 12 states, and then 12 states sued to have this deal paused. And then also, it was California State's Attorney General, 11 other states' Attorneys General, and then the Writers Guild of America. He says, so when those parties sued to stop the deal, I stayed quiet. I quickly learned such restraints has costs. While I was silent, others were happy to write my story for me. No more. You fucking bitch. Smash cut to, he offers me a job. Head of Paramount. The states claim this deal will give one company too much influence over its theatrical releases and cable operators, while the WGA argues that our combined market power will hurt writers. Both suits imagine a Hollywood that no longer exists, an industry ruled by a handful of legacy studios. He's more or less correct. He just stated the obvious. Disney purchased Fox assets when Fox decided to sell 20th Century. I think Disney owns 40% of the box office market share at this point. He says Paramount Warner combined would account for less than 20% of all watch time. And he's comparing that time against data from Nielsen ratings that are scraped from streaming platforms, including Netflix, Amazon, Apple, and YouTube. YouTube is the most popular thing to watch in the world, I guess, at this point. A combined company would account for just 18% of the domestic box office over the past 12 months and only 22% on average over the past 2 years. Keep in mind, David Ellison also explicitly said that they want to put out something like 20 movies per year with the new combined company. He says, I believe this fight is not really about market share. If it were, it wouldn't have been reviewed and approved by regulators reflecting 65 countries, including the United States, which is owned by, right at this point, which is being run by a dictator-ish person, and China, which again is being run by a dictator, as well as the European Union. I believe a plainer worry sits beneath the briefs and the news releases, the news. One of the biggest issues is that, again, Paramount-Skydance runs CBS. CBS is now leaning center right. And everybody is concerned that if you take CNN, which is owned by Warner Brothers, which is, again, supposed to be a gray area for news, just like where there's no left or right, it's just news. That they are going to bend it to Trump's will, because Trump has always had something to say when it comes to people who work at the network and when it comes to the type of news stories that CNN does, which is just news stories. Just more recently, he complained about Caitlin Collins, but again, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. She's a white woman hosting her own show. Everybody supported her. When he told her to smile, everybody was up in arms. Okay, calm down. I'm going to get killed one day. There has been speculation about my politics, right, my loyalties, right, and my intentions for the right. Unfortunately, I can't give anyone a view into my heart and mind, but I can share this. And this is the part where I rolled my eyes so hard on the bike that my eyes were moving in tandem with the 90 SPM, the cadence that I was going. I've regularly voted for candidates of both parties. I hold some views that would be called conservative and others that would be called liberal, just like most Americans. And when it comes to our news operations, I do not aspire to lead these companies to bend their newsrooms to my views. I believe that news should be based on facts and truth. The thing is, I do think that when Mark Thompson was hired by David Zaslav, who was a right-leaning person, and I can't really put a finger on Mark Thompson, but I can only assume he's a white British man. I don't really know much about Mark Thompson, but they did fire Jim Acosta for reporting the news, and yet they keep Scott Jennings. I don't care if Jim Acosta was a host and Scott Jennings is a talking head. He's still on the network, and he's still a big piece of shit. Anyway, but the thing is, CNN at this point is kind of already center right, just based on the people they hire and the people they've hired recently, I guess. But that and just sometimes how they approach news. Look, I worked there. I feel like I have a better understanding of this than you fucking idiots. Great news organizations like CNN and CBS News are here to tell it straight down the middle, as I've been saying. That requires newsrooms that reflect the whole world, not one side of it, and it requires independence. They let go of a bunch of people at CBS News, Scott Pelley, a bunch of producers, other correspondents, and within the last week, I spoke about this last week. Barry Weiss hired a bunch of basically conservative voices to do 60 minutes stories on 60 Minutes, which is the longest running news magazine show at this point in time. This is a very real thing. They are doing it in front of our eyes and lying to us. They are turning a big news organization, something that was supposed to be accessible to all. They ended the radio side of it. They're making it more, online and right leaning. It's the fact of the matter is, CBS News is no longer for the everyday person. Our journalists will continue to answer the facts and to all the people they serve, not to any party or cause. They were founding principles for both CNN and CBS News for legends like Ted Turner and Edward R. Murrow, and it is exactly the kind of independence that has always fueled the greatness of 60 Minutes. Then he tries to and doesn't link to any other sources. He just says, by Gallup's measure, just 28% of Americans said they trust the news, the lowest share ever recorded. All right. I'm also going to say this about his writing. He uses so many M dashes that it makes me feel like he ran this through some type of AI tool. I'm not saying he did, because it is actually salient and I can understand everything he's saying. However, there's so many M dashes, and there's a point to where he's using these M dashes where I'm going, hey, buddy, you should just like take them out. Use some semicolons. Throw some semicolons in there. It's the same thing. More, not really. I know. I just reneged on that. And then he just goes on talking about how he wants Americans to trust more institutions in the United States or whatever. Anyway, blah blah blah. Which brings me to what we aim to build. The Paramount Warner deal began with the movies. I have loved film. Blah blah blah. Riding bikes. I liked movies. Behind each of these moments stands real money, real risk, and hundreds of brilliant artists who tell stories and who count on movies to keep them employed. The machinery is in trouble, and now he starts pointing the finger at Hollywood. Hollywood is losing ground to technology platforms whose algorithms reward the loudest voices. The work is leaving, especially from California, where I grew up and where I am raising my family, draining the deepest pool of creative talent ever assembled. I understand that promises from an executive in the middle of a merger invite skepticism, so judge us by the year we just had. And he goes on to talk about how Paramount has 15 films. They released 15 films in theaters, and they greenlit 40 new or returning shows for Paramount Plus. There's going to be 90 series from their television studios in 2026. We raised our content investment by $1.5 billion. But if we look at not Paramount, Spider-Man Brand New Day just crossed $1 billion. It's the second highest grossing movie to ever do that quicker, in these past couple of days. And what was the last movie that Paramount just put out on in theaters? Paramount movie releases 2026. The next one they have is Paw Patrol, the Dino movie. They also have Heart of the Beast. There's the Street Fighter movie, also starring a right-leaning person. Or featuring a right-leaning person. Andrew, what's his fuck? Jack Ryan, The Ghost War. Passenger. What the fuck is Passenger? Savage House, Scary Movie 5 or 6, whichever one that is. Jackass, Best and Last. And Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, which they did not want to put in theaters. Oh, and Scream 7. Primate. So, if anything, none of these movies did well in theaters. What was the box office on... I can't imagine the box office on Jack Ryan Ghost War is anything good. Oh no, it's not even. Hold on, release. And that was on Prime Video within like a day. Let's look at Jackass Best and Last. The box office on that is $27 million. The budget is $10 million for what amounted to be a clip show of a movie. You can't say that you had a successful year when none of the movies you put out. When none of the movies you put out were, had any were even like on a chart to be successful. Now, Scream 7 was a budget of 45 mil, and it grossed 214. So that's good, and that's February. So that's good, but that is their most successful movie this year. Remember, Avatar Aang leaked last year. So it leaked last year, and then they weren't going to put it in theaters. They just put it on Paramount Plus, and then they're like, I guess if we want awards. Oh, they're distributing the Angry Birds movie 3. Is that what it's called? They should just call it the third Angry Birds movie. That'd be very funny. Okay. And then he starts talking about the movies that they want to put out 30 movies a year, 170 television series annually, and this is also important. Producing those shows for both Paramount Plus and HBO Max, should they get that. Also producing those shows for other platforms in the same way that Warner Brothers produces Batman shows like Batman, Caped Crusader, or Abbott Elementary for Prime Video and ABC, respectively. Anyway, he goes on to talk about how movies like G.I. Joe Retaliation met financial expectations. Top Gun Maverick exceeded them, and Terminator Dark Fate fell short. But those are movies in the past. We're talking about movies now. That's the thing. Scream 7 is your most successful movie of the year. And then he goes on to wrap it up and how he wants to be successful and create a place for storytellers who rely on us and for the country that dreamed this all up. Boy, what a frustrating thing to hear, because it's like it's like a parent lying to a child about how great Christmas is going to be, and you can tell that I never had a good Christmas. Because that is such a vivid thing. But it's like a parent lying to a child about how great Christmas is going to be. Like, we're gonna get you a Nintendo Switch 2, and there's gonna be candy and cake, and you can hang out all day. It doesn't matter what time you wake up, and you can play, and there's gonna be snow and stuff. When in reality, the kid wakes up, there's barely any gifts under the tree. The best thing is a Nintendo Switch 2 game, and it's like oh, we forgot the console. The console was the price went up in September and we couldn't get it. Like, you can't make all of these promises saying that you're going to put out 30 movies a year when you can't even put out 12. Or that you're producing all of these TV shows when the fact of the matter is some of those shows are old or returning. And Paramount Plus is not a good platform. I was just doing yoga, and I put on the movie The Contractor starring Chris Pine. Ooh, baby. And I was watching it on the TV itself. And the app on the TV sucks. The app on the Google Chrome TV, whatever that plugin thing is for the TV is, and then because the Dolby Vision is bad and it just makes everything look dark. So I just ended up turning on the PlayStation and watching it on there because it's just not a good app. And then everything you do on Paramount Plus is either a franchise because you don't trust what's going on. Or here, let me share my screen. Or it's a Taylor Sheridan show that's about to end. Like, if look at all this stuff, it's all the same things. You cancel Star Trek shows. Showtime barely exists anymore. I don't understand it. The only thing you have going for you are the things that people like South Park and Criminal Minds and Big Brother. I'm currently watching Big Brother. I'm saying these people suck. I don't like Big Brother that much. Also, if fans of Big Brother saw how I watch Big Brother, they'd be like, "Why do you watch this show?" I fast forward through showmances. I fast forward through crying. Let me see the competitions. Let me see the backstabbing. That's all I want to see. Anyway, this is very important. This next bit happened this afternoon, and I loved it. Why am I getting ads? Why is my ad block not on? Why is it not working? This comes from The Hollywood Reporter, written by Winston Cho. Paramount Warner Bros. Trial to start in March 2027 and blow to David Ellison's team. I feel like that op-ed was in response because they knew this was going to be coming. Okay. This is big. This is monumentous. The thing was, we were people who were against this deal, me included, a bunch of hundreds of stars, directors, producers, everybody was against this deal. We were all concerned that there would not be a pause, and then when there was a pause, there was a concern that the trial would be moved up. The Paramount wanted the trial to happen this year, preferably in September. I believe that's what they were initially hoping for. But pushing it to March is huge because, again, as I mentioned previously, there's that ticking fee, and it is $7 million per day. Suck on that. Winston Cho did the math, and apparently it's starting October 1st. Paramount will have to pay a ticking fee of roughly $7 million per day to Warner Brothers shareholders until the deal closes. It'll likely be on the hook for upwards of $1.5 billion, accounting for the time it takes for the court to issue a ruling on the antitrust trial. The trial will last 12 days, beginning March 2nd and end on March 19th. It will run from 8:30 to 1:30. The final pretrial conference will be held in February, with both sides completing briefing by the beginning of April. Wow. Man, this is great. I think this is the best case scenario for this right now. If you recall, Paramount's new legal team is led by Beth Wilkinson, who helped defend Microsoft's bid to acquire Activision Blizzard after the Federal Trade Commission sued. So she's pretty good at her job. Last month, she joined a deep bench of lawyers for Paramount that includes Jeffrey Kessler and Paul Clement. I'm surprised Paramount let a woman be in charge. I'm not joking. Based on what I know about Paramount, Skydance, and the Ellisons. The states, meanwhile, have brought on Richard Parker and James Weingarten, partners from the prominent law firm Milbank. Weingarten was chief trial counsel for the FTC in its failed bid to block the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal. This is, again, this is big. I am rooting for the states. I'm rooting for WGA. I do not want... No one should want this. You don't want a monopoly when it comes to anything. You shouldn't want a monopoly when it comes to video games. People shouldn't be excited that, one console manufacturer is doing poorly or selling worse than the other, because you end up with, imagine if Sony's PlayStation was the only console choice, and they decided to go discless, which they did for PlayStation 6, and you lived in a place that didn't have the best internet. Like even here, like I'm looking around on Zillow and I'm picking out houses or condos or whatever, and I look at a condo and it says there's no Google Fiber there. You can get AT&T Xfinity or some other bull crap. I don't want to live there because it doesn't have fiber. You should not want to only have iPhones, because Apple can control the prices of iPhones. You should not only want to have one phone carrier or one TV thing. Like you shouldn't. Monopolies are bad. You don't want monopolies. So why would you want? And this would be a monopoly. Make no mistake. Those numbers that David Ellison provided, I don't believe are factual. Mostly because he did not source them. But you don't want one movie studio controlling everything or putting out everything. Look at Disney. Disney, I believe, has a monopoly. But you're fine with it because they're putting out Spider-Man and fucking Avengers and all that shit. But if you look at the bigger picture, they have 2 streaming services, and then also including ESPN. So they also have these giant streaming services. They're buying up rights to all these sports streaming, because this is the only place you can watch certain to get like all day golf tournaments, or the only place you can watch college softball or some stuff like that. Monopolies are bad. Diversify your interests. Diversify your bonds. I think at the end of the day, at the end of March, hopefully there's a lot of things that could happen. They could say, well, you have to break up Warner Brothers. You can't have CNN, and you can have the cable networks. You can have the movie studio, but you can't have the streamer. Something like that will probably happen. But the best thing to happen would be you can't buy Paramount. Paramount can't buy Warner Brothers, and then also you have to pay this breakup fee, and then Warner Brothers is able to run itself again, and hopefully work its way back up to the top. But right now, we just have to hope that these lawyers on Warner Brothers side do their job. I'm rooting for the lawyers. It's like when I watch The Shield, I'm rooting for this the bad cop. He's very clearly a bad cop. He's a very clearly. All right, I'm not going to do that last story that I was originally going to do, but because this was much better. Anyway, listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website cpluscomedy.com where you can see me talk to famous people sometimes. I've got a couple of interviews coming out. I just put out one last week, and I've got a couple more coming out. If you want to see a video version of those interviews, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can see a video version of this show, as well as video versions of the other podcasts, Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, it's on a break, and The Constitutionals, which is the entertainment, business, and news podcast. Subscribe to the shows wherever your podcast. Follow us on social media at cpluscomedy on YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Me on those platforms at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.